What comes to mind when you think of Switzerland? I guess something like this, and this, and this. And of course, how could I miss? Switzerland is home to the world's finest watches, and from your favorite athletes to your favorite dictators, everybody is wearing them. Brands such as Rolex, Patek Philippe or IWC have become synonymous for Switzerland, and the entire watch industry accounts for 4% of Switzerland's GDP and employs 60,000 people. But there is a problem. Let's look at Swiss watch exports by value. Okay, apart from one slump in 2020, things look good, you might think, no? So what's the problem? Well, let's look at figures for Swiss luxury watch exports again, but this time by volume. You can clearly see exports of luxury watches by units have steadily declined. While Switzerland was exporting roughly 29.8 million luxury watches in 2011, only 15.8 million have been exported in 2022. That's a 46% decrease. But let's keep in mind, the value of exports is rising. The Swiss luxury watch industry continues to drink champagne and celebrates itself at numerous events such as at Watches and Wonders in Geneva or Baselworld, and says that they're experiencing one record year after the other. But nobody is talking about the dangerous trend which is undermining the entire industry and can be basically summarized in just 4 words: value up, volume down. Let's have a look at this phenomenon in more detail and find out whether the Swiss watch industry really is on the brink of a downfall. Okay, yes, we got it. The past few years have been the best the luxury watch industry has ever seen. Swiss watch exports soared from one record year to the next. Rolex even had to boost its production to meet the insane luxury watch demand, and also retailers were obviously doing great. In terms of top 10 brands by revenue, the only surprise for me really was Cartier. The French luxury brand, which is owned by Swiss luxury holding company Richemont, is doing extremely well and made it on the 2nd place in 2022. First place, of course, how could it be any different, goes to Rolex. And let's be honest, it's not even close. 9.3 billion Swiss francs of revenue in 2022. That's more than 3 times as much as Cartier. But well, let's not get fooled by these figures. We know that watch units sold are declining, but in some way the Swiss luxury watch industry kind of is growing by shrinking. So what exactly is happening? Well, it's actually quite straightforward. Switzerland is producing less luxury watches, but selling them at higher prices. And you can see this pretty well when looking at the Chronopulse Rolex index. This index tracks the sales prices of 140 Rolex watch models, and each watch is included in proportion to its overall transaction volume. While we started off at roughly 1000 in May 2019, the index has risen to 1500 as of today. That means that prices for Rolex watches have increased significantly during that period. But units produced didn't. You might think, well, where's the problem now? The Swiss decided to produce less and make more. That's actually quite smart, no? Well, let's not give them too much credit. You see, if we go back in history a bit, Swiss watches were largely for the masses. I mean, I don't want to say that every Swiss child was running around with a Rolex on their wrist, but these watches were much more affordable than today. And most importantly, they were seen as professional tools and not as luxury items. Rolex produced watches for the army, for pilots, divers and explorers. But then, quite quickly, Rolex went beyond its status as tool watch and became the watch to own if you were successful and also wanted to show that. And nowadays, well, you could argue that Rolex has moved from the higher end segment into pure luxury. And don't get me wrong, this also applies to other Swiss luxury watch brands such as Patek Philippe or Audemars Piguet. Just looking at the price for the entry model Rolex, which is usually considered to be the Oyster Perpetual, will set you off at about 6,100 Swiss francs. And bear in mind, this is the retail price, so good luck moving up the wait list at your trusted watch dealer. So what's the logical consequence of those insane price increases? Well, only increasingly wealthy people will be able to afford these watches. Is this a problem? I say yes, and I tell you why. Let's look at the Rolex index again, and let's also add the curve for Patek Philippe and Audemars Piguet. After having had an insane run during the COVID pandemic, where prices reached all-time highs, the party seems over now. High interest rates and slowing economies does not leave even the wealthy unaffected. We are seeing a big drop in the market. Of course, in the short term, that's no big problem for Rolex & Co., especially after having made so much profits throughout the last year. But I'm wondering, in the long term, doesn't it make sense to diversify your customer base a bit more and not putting all of your eggs in one basket? What do you think of this trend of constant price increases? Do you think that these companies have lost touch with reality? And are you even interested in owning a luxury watch, or do you see no value in it? Let me know in the comments. And as always, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I see you guys in the next video.